Hey guys, it's Marley. Welcome to my Chain of Thorns reading blog. We are on our way to pick up the book now, so come with us. It's so big for this thumbnail.
Yep.
Thanks. Peach, are you comfortable like that? Hey guys, I have been reading Chain of Thorns, but I thought I would do a little like official check-in, start of the vlog, because I know I just kind of randomly started it today when I was shopping. But this is going to be my Chain of Thorns reading vlog. It's going to be spoiler filled, so just so you know, if you have not read this, if you don't want to be spoiled, come back later when you have read it. But yeah, I'm going to be spoiling this similar to how I did for the Chain of Iron vlog that I had on my channel. I'll link it if you want to catch up and watch that too. But basically this is the third book in the Last Hour series, which is one of the many Shadowhunter series from Cassandra Clare. Very excited to be reading this, but also very sad that this series is going to be coming to an end. This is the last book we have with these characters. But yeah, very excited. It's almost an 800-page book, so we have a lot to go through together with these characters. It's January 31st right now when I'm filming this, which is the date this came out, and I wanted to upload my vlog a week later. So I don't know if I'm going to finish this in time for that. I guess you guys will know because you'll see when I posted this. Hopefully I'm able to finish it in a week, but I think the cover is beautiful, even though I think it's Grace on the cover because she's our only blonde character. Don't know how I feel about that. I'm guessing this would be a big redemption book for Grace. Anyways, I'm just gonna hop into this. I'm assuming that you guys have read this book or read this series if you're watching this. Basically, the first chapter I felt like we were just seeing dreams. Like James was sleeping and dreaming, Cordelia was sleeping and dreaming, Lucy was sleeping and dreaming. I was like, okay, let's get into the plot here. But I think that was a device Cassandra Clare was using to kind of catch us up on what each of the characters is feeling and what they're doing. Basically, James is looking for Lucy with Will and Magnus, which is kind of a fun team altogether. We love Will and Magnus. So he's finally coming clean to the adults about what all the teenagers have been up to in this series. So I guess the adults will get a little bit more involved. Cordelia has of course run away to Paris with Matthew because she's just feeling like her life is a mess and she wanted to get away and have some fun with Matthew. And if you don't know, I'm a huge shipper of Cordelia and Matthew. I still like Cordelia and James, but like Cordelia and Matthew is where it's at for me. So I think this is going to be one of the best parts of the book for me when it is just the two of them in Paris together, as I assume that is not going to last that long in this book. But right now, I'm basking in it. They're having a few little moments, but our girl is still really hung up on James, so I'm just grasping at anything that they give us at this point. And then we have seen Lucy, and she's of course with Jesse, who she just brought back to life, and Malcolm Fade. So that is a bit of an interesting story going on there. He's going to try and get her to raise Annabelle. That's the name, right? Annabelle? But yeah, those are kind of all of our stories, kind of our main stories. I'm really just intrigued to see what will happen with the rest of these relationships, like Ariadne and Anna, like Grace and Christopher. Like, is that going to become a thing? And then, of course, Thomas and Alistair. Like, everyone talks about how this series is mostly focused on the relationships. So that's the main thing I'm interested in. But of course, we have Belial. I always don't know how to say it. I think it's Belial. He's our main villain, and Lilith that we have to defeat. So that's on the back burner for me. Like, okay, I'm kind of over Belial though, to be honest. And I'm only about 60 pages in. So maybe I'll check in like every 100 pages. I don't know at this point. It's so big. And it's one of those things where it's annoying to read because of how big it is. Like, until I get to the middle where I can hold it like normal, it's just going to be like, oh. Like, very lopsided. Hey guys, so I just filmed my wrap up for January, so thought while I was in this position I'd do an update. I'm about 150 pages into this. I had to read today on the subway going to work. Carrying this on the subway, not the most fun experience, although it was kind of like a weapon. There's been a lot of violence on the transit recently, so kind of thought this could be like my weapon. Anyway, the main things I have to say are of course having to do with Cordelia, James, and Matthew. Okay, if you've read this, which I'm always assuming you guys have, like, this is so painful right now. This is so painful. So, okay, I can't hold this up the whole time. So, Matthew and Cordelia, we know they're in Paris. They're having fun times together. Honestly, it wasn't giving enough for me. As a shipper of those two, I was like, this isn't giving me quite enough. But then they finally had this moment where they kiss. And at first, I mean, it was a little bittersweet because Cordelia is saying how she wants to forget about James. Like, she's basically kissing him to forget about James, which... I'm just annoyed because I'm like, no, Matthew deserves like someone who really loves him. But anyways, they have this really like hot, sweet kiss. They're giggling, whatever, having this cute old time. And then they go into the hotel room and I'm like, oh my God, like, are they gonna do it? And then the light turns on and James is there and James sees them kissing. Like, of course that's what happened. Like, so much drama. Like, there's so much relationship drama in this. Like, it's so painful. Of course, the angst, because James has realized he really loves Cordelia and that Grace was just manipulating him with the little bracelet. He didn't actually love her. But Cordelia and Matthew and everyone else, you know, thinks that he actually did love Grace. But the whole thing is like, now he can tell everyone that, oh, it was the bracelet. It wasn't actually me, and everything would be solved. But he doesn't want to tell people until he tells Cordelia. Okay, so he has a chance to tell Cordelia and he doesn't do it. And this is where I'm like, I'm genuinely kind of annoyed with Cassie because I'm like, if James just told Cordelia, hey, the reason I was acting in love with Grace was because of the bracelet and she was brainwashing me, like, it would solve everything. Because Cordelia's biggest insecurity is like, he doesn't really love me. He's loved Grace all this time. I can't trust what he's saying now because he, you know, was always loving Grace. And it's like, if he just told her, that would fix everything. But of course, there has to be something that gets in the way. I mean, look how big this is, right? Like, it's not gonna get resolved now. So he's like, thinking in his head, he's like, oh, if I tell her the truth, she's gonna pity me. And so then she'll only stay in a relationship with me out of pity because she feels bad that I was manipulated, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this is such a stretch. This is such a stretch. Like, if he just told her, it'd literally be fixed. And I don't even want them to end up together, right? We know I want her with Matthew, but I still like her with James, so I'm just annoyed by it. Then, obviously, I'm upset for Matthew, and he's so sad. He's like, of course James has to come in and ruin things for me, and I understand that, right? That sucks. And then, so this was another upsetting thing for me. So I just love Matthew. He's one of those characters I just really connect with. I don't know, like, I love him. And I thought it was so sweet that Cordelia was helping him not to drink because he's an alcoholic due to, you know, all the reasons. And they made this deal that he wasn't going to drink when they were in Paris, and then she finds out that he has been drinking constantly behind her back. And so I was just like, oh, Matthew, like, why? Like, why? I just feel so bad for him, and I don't know where his character's going. Like, he has no other, like, love interest, if we're talking about that. Like, and I forget the family tree that we once saw about who everyone ends up with. I don't remember who Matthew's supposed to end up with, or if it's just no one, because And then is he ever gonna stop being an alcoholic? Like, I hope. And then James and Cordelia, I assume eventually it's gonna come out that the bracelet was involved. That's the main thing. Honestly, that's the main thing I have feelings about, obviously. But what else has happened? I can't even remember. Grace and Christopher did have a cute moment, so that's definitely happening. And honestly, I'm here for it. Like, that relationship will be sweet. Alistair and Thomas are interacting a bit. Love that. Ariadne has run away from home, so good for her. And so I assume, you know, her and Anna will hopefully get back together. And then what was the last thing I read? Oh, Tatiana Blackthorne has escaped and has joined forces with Balial. Again, I hate these villains. I'm kind of over the villains. And then, you know, we're gonna have more stuff with Lucy and Jesse. So yeah, we're really just getting started here. I am excited for all the interpersonal stuff, but I'm so torn up about Matthew. I just feel so bad about that. So yeah, anyways. Can we talk about how great of a character Alistair is? I feel like at this point, like 3 books into the series, he's developed into such a likable character. He used to be one of the most unlikable ones, the mean older brother, the bully to all the boys. But he's great. Like, he's so funny now in like the best way. Like, some of his quotes right now, talking to Cordelia about her situation with Matthew and James. He's like, I don't really like James, but on the other hand, I also don't like Matthew very much. So you see, I'm torn. Or, look, you need not discuss your feelings about James, Matthew, or whatever other harem of men you may have acquired with me. Hey guys, it's morning. Cheers. So I got to 300 pages in Chain of Thorns last night. It's super quick to get through. I'm just not getting through it that fast because I haven't had the time to read. But when I read, I am really enjoying it, which I expected. We had some more stuff with Cordelia and Matthew, so I'll just touch on that. Cordelia went looking for him at the like Downworlder bar, and he was there, and he is so sick and like doing so poorly. It's so sad. He basically admitted that he did try to stop drinking in Paris, but he was having withdrawal symptoms that were like worse than if he had kept drinking. So he just had to keep drinking or else his withdrawal symptoms would be so bad. It's really sad. Like, I really just want him to tell his parents and his family what happened, and I assume that's going to be the major thing that happens at the end, and he'll start to get better from there. But they did kind of have some sweet moments together, him and Cordelia, so I appreciated that. Still very painful though. So in terms of plot stuff, so Tatiana was found, but she was found very like hurt. So we don't know if like Belial just kind of tossed her to the side or like what's going on with her. Basically, so I don't think I've talked about it in this vlog, but Cordelia is Lilith's paladin. So basically she cannot fight, because if she fights then Lilith can like use her, control her. So she can't use Cortana, which is like this really important blade, the only blade that can hurt Belial. And I think she stabbed him like twice now. I think 1 each book, and he needs like 3 stabs to die. So I think the main thing is going to be figuring out how Cordelia can use Cortana again, so she can give Belial his 3rd stabbing with Cortana, and then he'll die. That seems to be kind of what the plan is right now, and all of our characters sort of regroup together. I am feeling a little bit like there's too many characters. I love them all, and so I don't really mind it, but I do feel like for plot and everything, there's just a lot of players right now. I wonder if like Cassie found it hard to kind of organize the book because of that. But yeah, all of our characters did sort of regroup and come up with this plan to try and find out how to make Cordelia no longer a paladin, so then she can use Cortana, kill Belial, and I think everything will be solved. Then we also had this mysterious letter that Ariadne's dad was sending to someone. It seemed like he was blackmailing someone, so that's a whole other side plot. I'm not really sure where it's going. But we've had some good relationship stuff with Ariadne, who actually, so her new chosen name is to go by Ari. So Ari and Anna have basically gone back together. Like, they were kissing and stuff, so happy for them. Thomas and Alistair, similar situation where they really want to be together, but they're kind of just not, because Alistair knows that all of Thomas's friends hate him, but I think people are hating him less and less, so that shouldn't be an issue. There's the whole gay thing, but Thomas told Matthew about him being gay. Matthew's bi, so he was of course cool with it, so we'll just kind of have to see the rest of the Merry Thieves find that out, but I honestly think they might already kind of know. Grace and Jesse talked, and so Jesse found out about what Grace did to James with the bracelet, and now he is pissed, and he talked to James about it, and he's like shocked that James hasn't told anyone. And I'm like, yeah, like why hasn't James told anyone? But it was kind of a really nice conversation talking about kind of being survivors of abuse. Like I can understand James not wanting to share this because he doesn't want people to pity him, he doesn't want people to look at him differently, and he doesn't want to relive the pain that he went through. Like he was really violated, similar to Jesse. Jesse went through a similar experience with his mom and Belial taking over his body and using his body to do evil acts. So that was really good seeing them interact, and I look forward to seeing their relationship more. Brother-in-laws they're gonna be, because Lucy will marry Jesse someday. So I do appreciate that. I just feel so bad for their characters, but again, like James, I really need him to just tell everyone, or at least tell Cordelia. Yeah, so it's still going well. Again, I'm kind of sad I have some plans today and tomorrow. I just want to sit and read, but hopefully I still can get through a good amount this weekend. This right here is what I want to see. This is what I want to see. Alright, we made it about another 100 pages, so I'm 400 pages in, a little over halfway. Oh, and Cordelia still doesn't know about the bracelet. So, anyways, we did have a really nice moment with Matthew and the Merry Thieves. Basically, all of them came to Matthew's apartment and were helping him with his recovery, and they came up with this plan to wean him off of alcohol rather than just going cold turkey. And I don't think I mentioned there's like some really nice photos in the book that have been really nice whenever they kind of pop up for really cute scenes. So there was one of all the boys with Oscar the dog. They all were sleeping together, staying with Matthew. It was really sweet. However, his recovery kind of went off the rails in this most recent scene. So it was the Christmas party. So we had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of characters interacting. Cordelia and Matthew had a scene, and basically he was confessing his love for her kind of again. He kissed her, and she let him kiss her. And then she basically completely broke his heart, saying that like they do not have a future at all. She still has feelings for James, and she doesn't want to lead him on anymore. Which is like, okay, this was needed to happen, but it's just so upsetting for Matthew. And like, why did she let him kiss her in that moment then? Like, she was still leading him on. I don't know, the whole love triangle in this isn't sitting great with me, and I could see it not sitting well with a lot of other people. Everyone loves the love triangle in the Infernal Devices series with Will, Tessa, and Jem, and it was such a unique, beautiful love triangle. And I feel like the love triangle in this series is being more of like a typical love triangle that's kind of a little bit more annoying. And as someone who always roots for like the underdog in those love triangles, it's just always very like upsetting to just see my favorite get like their heart broken over and over. So I don't know, I guess their relationship is officially like done, other than them having this friendship still, hopefully. But yeah, after that scene, Matthew got drunk again. So just upsetting, but at least he is in his recovery process, but he still has not told his parents or anyone else about why he drinks. We still have that needs to happen. We still have the bracelet thing that needs to come out. And at this point, again, being halfway through, like, I'm getting a little bit tired of James and Cordelia. I've always said I still like them, but now it's just getting so annoying. I feel like we're having the same scene over and over of James like confessing his love, trying to convince Cordelia he really loves her, and her just like not totally believing it. Like, she's kissed him a couple times and stuff, but like they're not, you know, getting together, and I'm just getting a little bit annoyed with it. There is some hope for her finding out, because Grace basically alluded to the fact that she wants to tell Cordelia about what she's done. She wants to like apologize and stuff. So I'm thinking she's not even gonna find out from James, she's gonna find out from Grace, which will be some good drama. At least that's more interesting, to be honest. So I hope that really does happen. Christopher and Grace continue to have some cute moments. He went to her and brought champagne when she's stuck in the Silent City because she wasn't able to go to the Christmas party. So that's going well still. Thomas and Alistair just basically keep having these cute random moments as well. Kind of angsty because Alistair is probably going to be moving with his mom. So that's upsetting. I hope that doesn't happen, but I really don't know what's going to happen with the gay couples in this series because of the time period. Like, I just don't know what's going to happen with them. Then as for the plot, So Tatiana was at this other institute seeming to be hurt and stuff, and then all of a sudden she seems to have gotten possessed by a demon or something weird's going on there. It's annoying. But she comes to the Christmas party and kidnaps Alexander, who was like the child of Gabriel and Sicily. So she's stolen him, so now it's like a big drama of like trying to find him. And she outed that Belial is Tessa's dad to try and turn everyone against the Herondale family, all this stuff. Does anyone else have trouble just constantly having to remind themselves whose kids are whose? I feel like I'm always having to remind myself, like, okay, Anna and Christopher are the kids of Sicily and Gabriel. And then they have this kid, Alexander, that's a baby. And then Thomas is a kid of Gideon and Sophie. And then he had an older sister who I think died. And then Matthew and Charles are Charlotte and Charlie's kids. Or not Charlie, Henry. It's just like I'm constantly having to remember, especially because the parents are like barely in this other than Tessa and Will, so it's really hard to remember. Honestly, Jesse is being, I feel like an MVP in this book. I'm really enjoying his character. He's helping out so much with the plot, trying to take down his mom. He's just such a sweet cinnamon roll. Him and Lucy can't touch. I don't know if I talked about that. They can't seem to touch because Lucy, since bringing him back to life, it's some sort of connection to Belial and like the demon world. Anyways, there's honestly like too much to talk about in this book, but I do feel like at this point halfway through, it's like there's certain things that are annoying me. There's certain things that are being dragged out, mostly Cordelia and James. I just really need all those secrets to come out and for things to finally progress in that area. Alright, it's been another couple hours since my last update and I've read another 100 pages. And actually a lot has happened in this last section. Starting out, I didn't fully understand what happened with Tatiana in my last update, but I guess it wasn't really her that was captured at that other institute. It was a demon, so that was just like a distraction. But really, she was free the whole time. So that's why it was really her who came and captured Alexander and all that, and then she got sent to the Silent City. Something that I liked in this section was that Cordelia and Lucy made up because they had been fighting in this book. They're really good friends, they have in all their lives, but like during the course of the actual series, we've seen them kind of like drift apart and not be honest with each other and stuff. So they finally did make up, which was nice. But something I'm noticing is that like the female friendships are not really getting as much focus as the male friendships in this, which I'm kind of sad about. I feel like, you know, we see the Merry Thieves, James, Matthew, Thomas, like they get a lot of page time, but Lucy and Cordelia aren't really getting a lot. So I do hope that they can have more in this next little bit, but at least they did make up, I guess. Then, so Grace did tell Cordelia the truth about her brainwashing and mind control for James, and we see her like run into his arms immediately. She finally is willing to be with him because she understands, and they had a very intimate time together. It was definitely the most descriptive sex scene we've had from Cassandra Clare thus far. I feel like they're really allowing more descriptions in YA when it comes to that, or maybe Cassandra's just writing these books for so long, she's like, I gotta get a little bit more descriptive than just ... you know. So we had that, so it was nice to see them like finally be together. Like I said in my last update, like we needed it to happen. It was just getting dragged out too much. Of course, then James finally felt comfortable to tell everyone about the bracelet. Everyone's having their reactions. Matthew is obviously one of the people most affected by it, and hopefully now, you know, he can start healing even more and sort of moving on from all of this. Then in terms of like the blackmail stuff I mentioned, we find out that Charles is the one being blackmailed, so Matthew's older brother, and basically Bridgestock or whatever is blackmailing him to be on his side and go against his family because he's threatening to reveal that Charles is gay, and that specifically he was in a relationship with Alistair. And this scene kind of rubbed me the wrong way, where we had Alistair, Matthew, and Thomas, who are all queer men, but they were all coming at Charles, telling him that he needs to stand up and like not give in to the blackmail, and that it's okay for him to be open about his sexuality. Not just that it's okay, but like he should be open about his sexuality, and he shouldn't be like letting others be hurt because of his secret. And it just didn't really sit right with me, because it felt like they were telling him to out himself, or like allow himself to be outed when like he's not comfortable, like he doesn't want to be outed, and they were basically telling him that he should be. And so that really didn't sit right with me. Like we had all of our, you know, good main characters telling him that, but I didn't feel good about that situation. So I felt kind of iffy about that for sure. And then Alistair and Thomas have like gone off somewhere. I don't even know where, but they're just making out. I feel like I ship Alistair and Thomas, but I feel like they get so many scenes that are like not necessarily like needed, but they're just like scenes of them like making out. I don't know. And then we had like the big plot twist of Belial's and Tatiana's plan, where we knew they were trying to possess someone with demons, possess people who were dead slash not dead. So I thought they were going to have these demons go into vampires' bodies, because I'm like, who's dead but not dead? And that's vampires. But no, the downworlders really are not relevant in this book at all. Basically, all these demons have now possessed the dead Silent Brothers. Tatiana got something from the Iron Sisters that they needed, and then she went to the Silent City, and basically there's a war going on between the real Silent Brothers and the dead Silent Brothers who are now possessed by demons. So that's the big plot going on. So now all our characters will have to defeat them, we'll have to fight. All of our adult characters are away conveniently for another reason, so it's really going to be our teenagers that are solving this now in the next few hundred pages. So things have really ramped up in this last section. I'm still very much enjoying it, although there are those things that are kind of annoying me, and so I'm feeling like maybe this will only be a 4-star instead of 5. But we'll have to see. I do have plans later today, so I don't know if I'll check in again. But yeah, I'm getting through it pretty quickly still. Something really bad seems to have happened, and I'm so mad about it. I'm so mad about it. Like, I was thinking, like, you know, normally there's a big death in these books, one of the main characters, and there hasn't been one, you know? If anything, we've had characters come back to life in this one, so it's like, wonder if there will be a death. It can't be. Like, it's just depressing. Right, here I am in the same spot. Now it's the morning and I have reached the 600 page mark. So we're getting very close to the end here. I think I'll finish today, but this has obviously been the most upsetting section. You saw me last night. I was so upset last night, and like I still am. I feel like Cassandra Clare always kills the most innocent, pure
characters, just I guess to make it hurt more. Like it's just really upsetting, and I wasn't expecting this from Christopher. I feel like they were giving him a potential love interest, they were having him create these inventions, things like that, and I just really wasn't expecting it, and it's just really upsetting. So that is happening, we're still reeling from that, and then James and Matthew are taken into Belial's realm. So it's basically like our main characters are grieving, all three of them, and Belial has told the Shadowhunters that they are able to leave London if they want, or they can stay. So basically he has taken over all of London. All the mundanes are basically like brain dead. He has control over them. There is like a barrier around London, so no one can enter or exit, except he's letting the Shadowhunters exit if they want, and then Belial will just have London for himself, but no one can come in to help, so none of the older Shadowhunters or anything. So our main characters of course stay while everyone else wants to leave. So they have this plan, each of them have their little tasks they're going to do to try to save London and save their friends. So I am enjoying that. I enjoy seeing them actually like do things, actually be, you know, heroes and stuff. But I'm still just really upset about the grief that they're all going through with Christopher. It's all just very upsetting. But now Cordelia and Lucy just made the deal with Lilith. They're gonna go to Edom to save James and Matthew and to kill Belial. But I also feel like this is something that could have happened earlier. Another thing that got dragged out, I feel like Cordelia could have gone to Lilith earlier with this deal of that she would kill Belial and then Lilith would set her free. Like that's something that could have happened way at the beginning, to be honest. But just so sad about Christopher.
Hey guys, just thought I would check in to say I have reached the 700 page mark, which means I have less than 100 pages left. So we're in the home stretch. I very much might finish tonight or just quickly finish it tomorrow. I feel like this last 100 pages though, I don't have a lot to say about it. I feel like it was really just our characters preparing for kind of like the final battle type of thing. We had Cordelia and Lucy go to Edom to save Matthew and James, which kind of ended up being pointless in a way because they got there and James was already gone, because James basically had to give in to Belial and let him possess him, which is kind of what this whole series has been leading up to. Belial has wanted to possess James this whole time, so it's not really shocking that he did finally do that. James kind of was forced to finally give in, but he had this little he has this little plan about how to get out of it involving Cordelia and Cortana. Basically, Lucy and Cordelia found Matthew and are going to be bringing him back to London. But in a way, that was good because I kind of got what I wanted of more Cordelia and Lucy scenes. They kind of had this moment of like confessing things to each other and sort of just hashing things out. So that actually was definitely needed, since I was complaining about that earlier. And just once again, really tough seeing Matthew in so much pain, but he did actually finally tell James about the stuff with his mom and the cause for all of his pain. So again, glad to see that. Now he just needs to actually tell his parents. As for the other characters, we keep just getting like cute moments again between Thomas and Alistair. I think they're one of Cassandra Clare's favorite couples maybe, because I just feel like they get so many scenes. And then Ari and Anna had a really nice moment where Ari was helping her when she was grieving Christopher. Grace and Jesse have been working on creating the fire messages, and then they finally succeeded. I do really like this turn that Grace's storyline has taken. I know I really hated her at points, but I actually do kind of like her story arc and how now she's kind of taken over for Christopher as the inventor, as the scientist, and she really is missing Christopher. Like, she really did care about him. And they figured out how to kill those stupid possessed Silent Brother people. But now they also found a way to bring back our other characters into London to help, so that's going to be good. So I think we're going to get like a big battle scene, and then we're also going to have the showdown between Cordelia and James to look forward to. So I feel like there are definitely some predictable things that are left to happen, but I'm interested to see how the actual series will end, because I know Belial's going to get defeated and all that. That's going to be obvious, but I'm kind of looking forward to seeing like how exactly the final chapters are going to wrap up with all of our characters and more of like the personal drama, because that's kind of the main point of this series, as I've said, is really about more of the family friendship
and romantic relationships between all the characters. I feel like that's just more interesting than all the Belial stuff. So here we are. I have finished Chain of Thorns, and with that I have finished the Last Hours trilogy. So the last chunk of this book kind of dragged a little bit for me. It was basically the big battle scene, like I said, where we got a lot of just fighting scenes between the Shadowhunters and the demons, which is not really my favorite thing to read. I don't really love reading battle scenes and stuff, but you know, it did make me a little worried for some of the characters, but I kind of knew no one else would die since we already had our big death. I do want to note something about the family tree that we were given years ago in one of the Infernal Devices series. Cassandra Clare had mapped out a family tree of the Herondales, Lightwoods, and Carstairs, and she did say that the family tree was not going to be accurate, like kind of recently, but she was really reiterating that in this book. We had a couple times where this random character was mentioned to be making a family tree, and our main characters were saying, oh, it's not going to be accurate because of this and this reason. So she was kind of like reminding us about that, and I just kind of wish the family tree could have been accurate. I think that would have been nice to know she had everything kind of planned out all these years. It would have been nice for Christopher to still be alive, as it showed him and Grace being the ones to continue the Lightwood line. But I just kind of wanted to mention that because I did reference the family tree earlier in this video, and Matthew was actually not on it. The Fairchilds were not on that family tree. I do kind of wonder if she originally planned to kill a different character, like maybe one of the queer characters, but then she realized she would get canceled if she killed a gay character. I don't know. Anyways, so as you can imagine, Belial was defeated. Instead of Cordelia stabbing James/Belial, James did it himself. Okay, kind of what you expected. We knew James was going to get stabbed. It's similar to Jace gets stabbed, right, in the Mortal Instruments, but then he somehow survives still. Similar thing, James still survives. She's able to heal him with Cortana, because we've heard throughout the book that Cortana can also heal as well as kill. Okay, we deal with Lilith. Great. I was just kind of over it at the end of this, like, which is different than at the beginning of the video. At the beginning I was like, oh, I don't want this book to end, or this series to end. Cassandra Clare really wore us out with this one, with 800 pages, and I feel like I am kind of done with this series, and I was kind of done by the end. Lucy helps out, so Lucy's power with the ghost ends up being super relevant, so I liked that and everything. And then we just kind of had the wrap-up moment of everyone just being happy, and some people going off and traveling together, or Matthew going off to travel and find himself. He finally told his parents about what he did, and him and Cordelia do have a nice scene at the end, which I appreciated as someone who really loved their relationship. And then we did get like an extra scene at the end of Cordelia and Lucy becoming parabatai, so I did like that, because as I complained in this video, I wanted more from their friendship. So yeah, I just feel like, you know, I'm done with these characters. We saw a lot of them. I feel like we got what we needed from this series, except for me. I would have liked more Cordelia and Matthew. I always would. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna give this one 4 stars. So I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not gonna be able to give it a 5-star like the other books. I just did not enjoy it as much as the other ones. A lot of scenes could have been cut out, and a lot of things got dragged out, in my opinion. But I'm really interested to see other people's opinions. I haven't heard too many other people's opinions yet, so I'd love to have a discussion down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this book, anything I've touched on, anything I forgot to. Maybe let me know where this series ranks for you in all the Shadowhunter books. I don't think this would be my favorite, but I did really enjoy it. So yeah, let's discuss. And thank you guys so much for watching this long rambly video. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already for more reading vlogs from me, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.